And 6 years thou shalt sow thy land, and shalt gather in the fruits thereof. But the 7th year thou shalt let it rest and lie still, that the poor of thy people may eat, and what they leave the beasts of the field shall eat. In like manner thou shalt deal with thy vineyard, and with thy olive yard. 6 days thou shalt do thy work, and on the 7th day thou shalt rest, that thine ox and thine ass may rest, and the son of thy handmaid, and the stranger may be refreshed.
According to the Bible, Jews in the land of Israel must let the land rest every 7 years. In Hebrew, every 7th year is known as a Shemitah, a word that means to fall, collapse, or wipe out. It also refers to a release. This ancient mystery goes back over 3,000 years to Moses and Mount Sinai. It is interesting to mention here that Moses was the leader of a lunar cult, as evidenced by many paintings and other works of art from the Renaissance period. Many people are not aware that Moses was often depicted having horns on his head during this time frame. If you saw part 1 of this video, you are aware of the blood moon tetrad that we are in the middle of. This rare series of blood moons falling on Jewish holy days in conjunction with the Shemitah are setting us up for an incredible year ahead that all points towards September 2015 as a time of major change, as the final super blood moon takes place and the Shemitah year comes to a close on Elul 29, the final day of the biblical calendar when all debts are wiped away. Never before in history has a super blood moon of a biblical tetrad ever occurred at the end of a Shemitah year.
At the end of every 7 years, thou shalt make a release, and this is the manner of the release. Every creditor that lendeth aught unto his neighbor shall release it. He shall not exact it of his neighbor or of his brother, because it is called the Lord's release. The foreigner thou mayest exact it again, but that which is thine with thy brother thine hand shall release.
Messianic rabbi and author of The Mystery of the Shemitah has uncovered a startling connection between the Shemitah and the financial markets in the United States. Since 1973, every U.S. financial collapse has occurred during a Shemitah year, 100% of the time. In 1973, a Shemitah year marked the beginning of a stock market crash combined with an oil crisis that caused the sharpest fall in global share prices since the Great Depression and World War II. 1980, the following Shemitah year. In January, the U.S. economy entered a recession that at the time was the most significant since the Great Depression. In 1987, the following Shemitah year. Black Monday, October 19th. The largest one-day percentage decline in the Dow Jones Industrial Average had ever seen. It dropped 22.6% in one day. The following Shemitah year, 1994, bond market massacre took place with yields on 30-year treasuries jumping 200 basis points in the first 9 months of the year, hammering investors, bankrupting Orange County, and thrusting Mexico into crisis. 7 years later, on the next Shemitah year, 2001, we witnessed the collapse of the Twin Towers in New York, and a historic stock market collapse followed 6 days later. 684 points, or 7.13% drop in a single day, the largest point drop in history, and it happened on Elul 29 of the Jewish calendar, the ancient day of debt cancellation. The following Shemitah year happened in 2008, where we saw the Dow drop 777 points in a single day. September 29th, 2008 was exactly on Elul 29 of the Shemitah year, just like 2001's historic Dow collapse. Mark your calendars, everybody, and hold on to your hats, because if this trend continues, September 13th, 2015 could be a doozy. People all around the world are affected in one way or another by the mystery of the Shemitah, and this coming September 2015 could just be an incredible time. Not only will we have a super blood moon, but we will also be in the end of a super Shemitah. Every 7 Shemitahs, or 49 years, bring a jubilee in the 50th year, and we are in the 7th Shemitah right now. This super Shemitah can intensify the blessing or the curse, and from the looks of the first 3 weeks of this Shemitah, we may not be in for the blessing. On the first day of the 7th Shemitah, September 25th, 2014, the first case of Ebola was diagnosed on U.S. soil when Eric Duncan checked into a hospital in Dallas, Texas. Duncan died on October 8th, the second blood moon of the biblical Tetrad. On this day, we also heard that China had passed the U.S. as the biggest economy in the world according to one key metric. In addition to the Ebola situation, the Dow Jones has also lost 1,000 points since the start of the current Shemitah on September 25th, 2014. Not to alarm anyone or spread any type of fear porn, but I think that it is important to mention that in the book, The Mystery of the Shemitah, it is revealed that the beginning of the Shemitah's impact is often subtle, but leads to a dramatic climax. America was founded by people professing Judeo-Christian values and can no way escape the power of the Shemitah. The mystery of the Shemitah manifested in ancient times during the fall of the Babylonian Empire and the rise of Persia. In modern times, it has involved the fall of Europe and the rise of America. Along with empire building comes tall buildings. The tallest building in America in 1950 was the Empire State Building, completed in 1931, a Shemitah year. The Twin Towers were planned in 1945, a Shemitah year. Completed in 1973, a Shemitah year. And collapsed in 2001, a Shemitah year. The next economic shift in empire building appears to be pointing to China, as they just passed the U.S. in one key metric for the largest economy in the world. They have plans to start building the Phoenix Twin Towers next year, which will be the tallest in the world, and they are hard at work pushing out the U.S. dollar as a reserve currency of the world. Could September 2015 be the end for the U.S. dollar?
Thank you so much. Merci beaucoup. As you can tell, I do as I'm told, and I thought I had to stand up at the time when my immediate predecessor would sit down, and clearly I failed. Good afternoon, and thank you very much for having me with you. I would like to thank the National Press Club, and especially President Angela Grilling-Keane, for not only inviting me to this prestigious venue, but essentially presenting the outline of what I want to talk to you about now. So it's as if we had prepared that together, which we have not. Now, let me first of all, of course, begin by wishing you all a Happy New Year. I guess it's still time to do that, given that we are just exactly halfway through between our Western New Year and the Lunar New Year, which will loom in a few weeks' time. I think it's also appropriate to wish ourselves a Happy New Year, given what I would like to talk to you about, which has to do with the global economy and what we should expect for 2014. Now, I'm going to test you numerology skills by asking you to think about the magic 7. Okay? Most of you will know that 7 is quite a number in all sorts of themes, religions, and I'm sure that you can compress numbers as well. if we think about 2014, all right, I'm just giving you 2014, you drop the 0, 14, 2 times 7. Okay, that's just by way of example, and we're going to carry on. So, if we think about 2014, all right, I'm just giving you 2014, you drop the 0, 14, 2 times 7. Okay, that's just by way of example, and we're going to carry on. So 2014 will be a milestone and hopefully a magic year in many respects. It will mark the 100th anniversary of the First World War back in 1914. It will mark the 70th anniversary, drop the 0, 7, of the Bretton Woods Conference that actually gave birth to the IMF. And it will be the 25th anniversary of the fall of the Berlin Wall. 25th. Okay. It will also mark the 7th anniversary of the financial market jitters that quickly turned into the greatest global economic calamity since the Great Depression. The crisis still lingers. Yet, optimism is in the air. We've left the deep freeze behind us, and the horizon looks just a bit brighter. So my hope and my wish for 2014 is that after those 7 miserable years, weak and fragile, we have 7 strong years.
When the Jews return to Zion, and a comet rips the sky, and the Holy Roman Empire rises, then you and I must die. From the eternal sea he rises, creating armies on either shore, turning man against his brother, till man exists no more. The book of Revelations predicted it all.
Well, I'm not here to listen to a sermon.
It is by means of a human personality entirely in his possession that Satan will wage his last formidable offense.
You said that my
Go
wife
to
was...
the town of Megiddo, in the old city of Jezreel.
The world is full of giants. They have always been here, lumbering in the schoolyards, limping through the alleys. We had to learn how to deal with them, how to overcome them. We were small, but fast. Remember? We were like a wind appearing out of nowhere. We knew that being clever was more important than being the biggest kid in the neighborhood. As long as we keep our heads down, as long as we work hard, trust what we feel in our guts, our hearts, then we're ready. We wait until they get sleepy, wait until they get so big they can barely move. Then we walk out of the shadows, quietly walk out of the dark, and strike.
hadith regarding the army that will come from Khorasan with black flags. That army is the authentic Islamic resistance to oppression in Afghanistan. Afghanistan is the heart of Khorasan. That army has already started, and that army has displayed over the last 10 years a capacity to fight NATO, and NATO cannot defeat them for 10 years. It is only when Dajjal is killed and Gog and Magog are destroyed. Very few people know anything about Gog and Magog. They say, well, is that a restaurant somewhere? Gog and Magog? Like Masakan Padang? Masakan Gog and Magog? I have a book outside, took me a long time to write it, an Islamic view of Gog and Magog in the modern world. I pray somebody will help me to translate it to Bahasa, inshallah. An Islamic view of Gog and Magog is outside. When Dajjal is killed and Gog and Magog are destroyed, after the Malhama takes place, electronic warfare is not possible. No. Your cell phones ain't going to work anymore. No, you probably won't have electricity after that. No. So it's going to be conventional warfare as before with horses. It is at that time the Prophet said, alayhi salatu wasalam, that the army will now be unstoppable from Khorasan.